Hey guys, Chris from Ultimate Recycler. Welcome back to the shed. We're going to try and repair this clock. Those of you that follow my channel would have seen that I picked this up from the local charity shop in a recent Monday Marathon Ewaste video, and I only paid $3 for it. It's a pretty cool little clock. It's quite modern, and I thought it may have just had a flat battery, but alas, I can't turn my $3 into an instant profit because the thing still doesn't work even with a new battery. So we're going to do a little bit of a exploratory video, see if we can find out what's going wrong, see if we can fix it. It's just a basic quartz movement, or in its favor, though, at least it's a Japanese movement rather than the modern Chinese movement. I'm not sure how old it would be, but it's certainly pretty modern, probably in the last 20 years or so. But we're going to pull it apart and see if we can fix it. So come along for the journey and you might be able to help me out. So I don't know how involved this is going to be, and I think we probably should take our $3 sticker off there, because after this video it's either going to be worth a lot more or it's going to be worth a lot less. So a little quartz movement. We'll take that battery out. We know this is a good battery, and when I did try it, I had the meter on the terminals, not on the end of the battery, and I know that there was power getting through, even though this one looks like it has had a little bit of corrosion. I think there must be a fault in the movement. Now these quartz movements are pretty simple. They just have plastic gears in them. There could be an issue with corrosion that's crept further into the case, but we'll pull it apart and see how we go. The frame of this is actually, it's actually got a date there, 1996. And what's it say? Seagull, Canada, Pewter, Ethane Zin. Okay, so it's a pewter surround. Nice floral design, quite heavy. So it's not an unattractive clock. Seagull is the brand. Quartz, Japan movement. Right, so we need to get it out of the frame. It looks like it clips in. And just spring-loaded plastic clips. Oh, actually, there's glue there as well. All right, I wonder if that was original from the factory. There's glue underneath too. So maybe the plastic clips just didn't hold it very well. I don't know how strong the glue's going to be. It's only going to be holding to a little bit of the metal. If we push these clips back, we may be able to flex it and crack the glue. I don't want to crack the case. Well, it's pretty tight. It's free at the top. Okay, I think that's going to open up. We'll just work. There we go. Okay. We have success. The glue has let go for most of it. There we go. All right. So it was just basically glued. I'd suggest that the plastic clips just weren't strong enough, and then maybe the clock kind of rotated or something. So we can easily put a dab of glue or something in there when we put it together. We'll have to clean that up later. That should clean up okay. A little bit of corrosion here. Wonder if that's come from the battery acid. Hasn't hurt the metal though. I think it's just created a bit of an oxide. So that'll clean up fine. No worries there. Okay, the clock itself is still in a plastic housing of some sort. And we're not going to be able to bring it back out this side with the hands going through. So how does that come apart? Hopefully that's not glued in. Of course, these things are never meant to be serviced. I've just got a watch back opening tool that's probably more useful for this job. So yeah, these things are never meant to be serviced. They're never meant to be repaired. In the disposable times we live in, the companies just want you to throw it away and buy a new one if it plays up. And of course, most of the batteries you get these days leak very easily. And the corrosion pretty much destroys them. As I said, this did have a little bit of corrosion on there, but it looks as if it'll be fine. Although it has leaked a little bit of battery acid down there. Anyway, I'm just going to work around this. I think it's just got a bit of glue holding it together. Yeah, we need to get this bezel off the front, I'm sure. Okay, I resorted to a Stanley knife just to break the glue down, because the glue had snuck down between the bezel and the casing. And I think I've freed it up mostly now, so we should be able to remove the casing or at least the bezel. I think it's clipped. I don't really want to break it. Oh, actually, I don't want to break it at all. I think once we get it started, it will come off. Oh, there we go. It's starting to move. There we go. Well, that certainly wasn't meant to be taken apart. In fact, the glue is still holding in one spot there, I think. So our glass isn't a glass, it's just plastic. That will clean up okay. And this has glue right round on the inside. So yeah, it basically was all glued together. We'll clean that up later, assuming we can get the clock to work. Alright, now I've got this far in. To remove the movement, we need to take the hands off. And they should just lift up. Sorry, you probably can't see from that angle. So the second hand should pop off. There we go. And then the minute hand will press on as well. And same with the hour hand. They all just press on. I want to keep the face clean. It's only cardboard or paper. Maybe they can stay there. It's most likely glued to that plastic piece. Now, although there might be a nut in the middle that holds the movement through, I can't feel one. The movement might be just clipped in. It looks like there's a clip on that side. And it's clipped both sides. Okay. There we go. Wow. What a challenge. Even that had some... Oh, actually, that was like a double-sided tape to stick it down. Okay, so we've finally got the movement out. Now, the easy way would probably just to drop a replacement movement back in there and glue it back together and Bob's your uncle. But I'd like to try and find out why this isn't working, and I'm sure you guys would like to have a look as well. I'll brush all this glue off the mat here. Now, let's take the movement apart. Sometimes these time adjust wheels will just pop out. Oh, there we go. It popped too. That has a gear on the end of it, which you obviously, when you adjust the time, it has to turn the minute and hour hand. Now that we've got that out, the actual casing will clip apart. It has a clip each side. So I'll flex that one up carefully. Try this side first. I'm trying to stop it just popping open and gears and cogs going everywhere. So I've got one side off. Okay, there's the other side released. Okay, so there's our little gears. Some of them run on... No, these are just little locating posts. So all the gears are in their right positions. have a coil, and we have a little oscillating thing down here that is what drives your clock. I'm just going to take these gears out one at a time. They just sit in here very loosely. And by filming this, I'll be able to know how they go back together. But there's pretty much only one way they can go anyway. That's the second hand, right in the, or the shaft that drives the second hand. Now there's more gears under that as well. I'll go and get my tweezers. And this little gear here has a magnet in it. And that one actually is the driver of all the whole train of wheels. So if we power this up, that little cog should just oscillate. It's basically like a little motor. And the quartz, I see how it's magnetized to my tweezers. The quartz crystal is in there somewhere, and that's what regulates the frequency and allows this to turn. So the fault really with these is normally in these plastic gears. They normally get a bit of dust or hair or something inside, and they just bind up and they just won't turn because this little motor thingo has very little torque, so it doesn't take much to stop it. It almost just hovers in there. Of course, the other main problem these things have is corrosion. There is a little bit around there, but it's not too bad. Unless it's actually crept along into the wire and broken a wire, I would suggest that if we power this up and drop this back in, it should even turn. We might try that. Let's put the battery back in. Okay, it's not, so there must be a fault here with the power supply or the coil or the crystal. Let's pull the rest of it apart. Now, those gears can probably, I will clean them all out, but that's the rest of the gear chain. So that is what the minute hand sits on. There's an intermediate gear there. And this one is what the hour hand sits on. So it looks fairly clean in there. Let's just put those ones back in. Now, probably that's how negative and positive from the battery. That end's positive, this end's negative. We can check with our meter to make sure they have continuity, and we actually get our 1.5 volts on those two sections. And those two little tabs press up, and here's our problem. We've just turned it over, and there's the crystal, but our problem is a little bit of corrosion on this pad, and that means that that little metal tag in there where it rests on here won't be making a connection, so we really just need to clean that corrosion off, and I reckon it'll work. So that's where the problem is. Very rarely I've ever found, well, I've never found, and I would imagine it'd be extremely rare to have a problem with the crystal or to have a break on the coil of copper wire or anything like that. You just simply do not get mechanical problems or usually electronic problems on these things. It's usually corrosion, or it's usually dust or hair or something stopping the cogs. So they're pretty easy to fix. They're just a little fiddly to get apart, as you saw. Righto, we need to clean that tab up. So how to clean up the corrosion? Well, here's my magic potions. We have normal everyday white vinegar, some distilled water, and some IPA, which is isopropyl alcohol. I also have some deoxit D5. I'm just going to spray on it once it's finished, just to protect it, and it'll stop it corroding again. The vinegar will clean off the corrosion. The distilled water will dilute the vinegar so that it doesn't cause any more corrosion, because vinegar is an acid. And the IPA will just help everything dry out because it evaporates very quickly, and we don't want, of course, to leave water in the circuit board. I've got some little cotton buds or Q-tips. I've also got a little fiberglass brush, which is pretty handy for giving a bit of a scrub if that corrosion takes a bit to remove. I noticed on the close-up of the board, and you can possibly see it there, there's looks like a little bit of solder here. So I might just put that under the microscope and make sure that's okay. Also, the start of the copper track here looks like it might have a little bit of corrosion as well. So if that was a bit of a break, I could clean some of the green lacquer off there and bridge that with solder. I don't think it is a break. I think it just needs a bit of a clean up. But the main part is this part where that little tab from the other part of the mechanism actually pushes against and is supposed to make a connection. This side's okay. We'll give them a bit of a scrub up though with vinegar, get rid of the corrosion, and then we can proceed to clean it up and treat it so it doesn't get any worse, or at least happen again until there's another dodgy battery. Okay, let's get some vinegar on the cotton bud and we'll just wipe that away. I don't want to spread vinegar everywhere because it is corrosive, and you'll see that bubbles a bit, or you probably can't see it, but it does bubble away and helps eat away the corrosive residue. We could also give it a little bit of a scrape with either a very small screwdriver or the ends of the tweezer, just to dislodge some of the more flaky stuff, and it helps the vinegar get under there and clean it up better. Certainly quite a thick piece of corrosion there. So we'll clean the other tab up as well, and the start of that trace there. But it's generally pretty good, except for that one spot of contact, I think. So we need to clean it a little bit more, and I'm going to use this fiberglass brush, which is fairly abrasive, and that should clean, pretty much cleaning it back to the copper actually. Okay, it's still obviously a mark there, but I don't know if you can see that reflecting. Hopefully I don't lose focus. But it's no longer corrosive. It's actually now looks like just a bit of dull copper. We could probably even run a soldering iron over there with a little bit of flux and cover that over with solder. In fact, I might do that, I think, just to kind of protect the metal underneath. So before I do that, I'm going to dilute the vinegar with some water, distilled water, and then we'll use the other end of the cotton bud to slosh around a bit of IPA. And it doesn't matter where you get this because it will evaporate and it does clean things up. I think that is a little bit of solder on that track there. I'll clean that off later. Okay, that's looking good. So I cleaned this up and tried to solder it, and the area where the corrosion was had actually eaten through the copper, and it just went through to the material of the board, which of course the solder won't stick to. So I could have done a couple of things. I could have bent the tab that actually rests on it so that it moved across and rested on a different area, but I actually got a little bit of solder wick, which is just a very flat, fine weave of copper, and I cut a section and I laid it on and I soldered it in. So that covers the hole, and it should give a good contact for the tab to rest on. Of course, it's a little bit higher now, but that tab's sort of spring steel, so it will press even harder on that contact. Should be good. Cleaned up the other one, cleaned up that little bit of dodgy solder splatter that was resting down there. I don't think it was causing any problems, but I cleaned it up anyway. And I've washed it down with distilled water and plenty of IPA, so it's nice and clean. I also removed the little metal bracket where the little tab was and made sure that was clean, so I've washed that up. It was quite corroded in the back of it, and it even had stained the inside of the plastic here. But I've washed that out very thoroughly and given it a good rinse. I'm going to leave this overnight just so that it's totally dry, and then we should be able to reassemble it and have the clock running. So assembly time now. I've put the battery terminal back in there, and I'm sure that those little metal tangs are nice and clean. And I've taken these other gears out, or wheels, I think I should call them wheels, and I've just made sure there's no hairs or dust or anything, and blown any of those fiberglass fibers from that little brush. Make sure it's all nice and clean. So now we just drop these back in. No lubrication required on plastic gears, to the best of my knowledge. I've never lubricated one of these. I think adding oil anywhere to one of these little movements is just going to attract dust and probably gum up the wheels much quicker than with no lubrication. Plastic, to a degree, tends to be sort of self-lubricating, and they only spin slowly. I think they're going to last a long time. So we should be able to put this assembly now back in, and I've put some deoxit just on the contacts there. Incidentally, the can says removes oxidation, improves connections, seals and protects surfaces, which is exactly what I want to do. So good for electronics. Expensive stuff, but very good stuff. Okay, so that one goes over that way and locates on posts. And with a bit of a wobble around, the wheels should drop into there, or at least the wheel arbors should drop into their respective spots. There we go, I think that's right. Now make sure they still turn, they haven't bound up or anything. At this stage, we can actually test to see if the electrics are going to work. So I can put this little magnetized rotor in. I don't know what it's actually called. If it'll come off my tweezers. Looks like it doesn't want to. And we'll drop it in that way. Yep, that looks right. Now I think if we put the battery in, we should actually get some life out of it. Ah, now, can you see that? Let's hope we don't lose focus. That little rotor is pulsing now. That's exactly what it's supposed to do. It pulses once per second, I think. Well, I mean, I guess it depends on the gearing, but the clicks you hear on these clocks, the ticks, is around about the same frequency as what that pulses. So we know it's going to work. Fantastic. I'll take the battery out. And we can assemble the other gears now. Making sure they're clean and there's no little hairs on them. I don't think we need to worry about the oil from our fingers. If I was working on a watch or something more delicate, I would probably have finger cots or something, because the oil from your fingers can cause problems. Now, I might have to review the footage. I forget which way these ones went. Okay, I've just checked the footage, and that's exactly why we film or take lots of photos, so that you can remember where they go. This one goes on this side. It's the connecting wheel from the little drive part to the center wheel. And then this one transfers the power through to the other wheels on the other side of this plate. And again, we just got to wobble them around a bit until they drop into position. Okay, they seem a little wobbly, but that's okay. They're all meshing. It's all held together when they drop into their locator things on this part. So I think we're right to put this in now. And it might take a bit of a wobble just to get them to line up, so you don't want to press this home quickly. It's just a matter of coaxing it in. Okay, a little bit of wobbling around rather than just pressing hard, and everything should fall into place. One of the clips, there we go, both clips went in without undue force, so that should be fine. And the last thing to do, and this will check that we've got all the wheels in the right spot, is to put the time adjust piece in, which should locate. Yep. Now that should move the hands, so we can just put the trial hands on, or maybe just a minute hand would be enough. And make sure that that turns it. There we go. So all the wheels must be lined up properly for that to happen. So we've got to take that off again because we can now put this completed movement back into its housing. We can see the remains of the double-sided tape there. I don't think I need to put any in. It seemed to be a fairly snug fit. That's good. Excellent. And let's do a quick test before we get it any further and make sure that the second hand is working. So we'll put our battery in. And I can hear it ticking. Let's put the second hand on the middle post and make sure it moves. Fantastic. I believe we have success. So I don't think I need to film anymore. I'm just going to basically reassemble it. I might put a little bit of glue in if the casing's a bit loose. I suspect it probably doesn't really need glue around the bezel because it was quite firm to get off even once I'd cracked the glue. It may need a little bit though around the side of the metal casing just to stop it, the whole clock movement from pivoting. It does seem like it's a little loose in there, but I can say we've successfully fixed this clock. I may as well film the rest for those that want to know how to put it back together. There's not really any tricks, just pressing the hand down, but not too tight. We don't want it to press hard against the paper. And I can either do it at 12 or 6. 6 is probably easier to see. So the minute hand now has to, of course, point to 12. And I'll press that one down. And now we can put the second hand back on. And we might, before we put the clock back in the case and the glass back on it, we might leave it just run for a while to make sure none of the hands are fouling on each other. And then we can just assemble the rest. We might give the dial glass a bit of a clean up. So I'll let it run for an hour over tea time, and we're back out in the shed now. It's, as you can see, it's about 8 minutes past 7, running beautifully. I gave the dial glass, or even though I call it a glass, it's actually plastic, just a bit of a polish up with this Meguiar's Plastics. Very handy stuff. It's actually marketed to clean your car headlights. I've used it on turntable acrylic tops before. It does work well, and as you can see, that looks magnificent. Had a few little scuffs and it cleaned them up nicely. So clock finished, successful repair, and that can go straight to the shop now. So we have saved this little beauty from being thrown out, or at least the movement being thrown out. Yes, you could buy a cheap replacement movement and put it in, but it's more satisfying trying to fix the original one, I reckon. And in most cases, they're very easy to fix. Even if there's no corrosion issues, if you find a clock where the second hand is just twitching, usually it's just a fibre or a bit of dust or something got into the plastic gears. So pull it apart and have a go. It's certainly not going to be a loss if it doesn't work. I'm going to put $20 in this in the shop. So we've turned $3 into $20. Yes, I spent quite a long time fixing it and it's not really economically viable. But how do you put a price on satisfaction, hey? So there we go. Now, if you want to try any of the products that I've used, the Meguiar's polish, the deoxit, what else? Even that little fiberglass brush that I used, I think I've got links to them all on my Amazon store. So if you want to have a look at those, and if you do buy through my Amazon link, I get a small commission, and that's much appreciated. And it doesn't cost you any extra. All right, this is going off to the shop tomorrow. $20 price tag. I don't think it'll take long to sell. Thanks for watching, guys. We'll catch you in the next video. Bye for now.